They say, a voice came from the darkness, first whispering, then laughing, and finally screaming, "Welcome back, everyone." Tonight, we're venturing into the heart of rural Tennessee, where in 1817, a quiet, ordinary farm became the stage for what many consider the most terrifying and well-documented haunting in American history. This is the story of the Bell Witch. The Bell family, led by patriarch John Bell, were respected members of their community in Robertson County. They lived a peaceful life on their 320-acre farm, working the land, raising their children, and attending church. But in the late summer of 1817, that peace was shattered forever. It all began subtly, with strange and unsettling noises echoing through their simple wooden farmhouse. At first, it was just knocking sounds on the outside walls. Then, the sound of something scratching, like a dog at the door. But when they opened it, there was nothing there. Soon, the sounds moved inside. The family would hear what sounded like rats gnawing at their bedposts, chains being dragged across the wooden floors, and heavy stones being dropped from the ceiling. But no matter how hard they looked, they could find no source for the disturbances. The family's youngest daughter, Betsy, began experiencing the most terrifying encounters. She complained of being slapped, her hair pulled, and her bedsheets violently ripped from her in the middle of the night by an unseen force. The family was petrified, but for a whole year, they kept their ordeal a secret, fearing ridicule from their neighbors. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, John Bell confided in his close friend and neighbor, James Johnston. Skeptical but concerned, Johnston agreed to spend the night at the Bell home to see for himself. That night, he and his wife experienced the same terrifying phenomena. The disembodied sounds, the feeling of being watched, and the bed covers being pulled away by invisible hands. Convinced that something truly supernatural was at play, Johnston helped organize a committee of local men to investigate. This wasn't a secret anymore. The whole community was about to witness the horror unfolding at the Bell farm. As more and more people came to the house, the entities seemed to grow stronger, older. The subtle noises evolved into faint, disembodied whispers, like the sound of an old woman humming hymns. Over weeks, these whispers grew clearer, evolving into full, articulate sentences. The voice identified itself. It called itself Kate, claiming to be the witch of a neighbor John Bell had allegedly cheated in a land deal years earlier. Whether this was true or not, the spirit made its intentions chillingly clear. It had come for one reason, and one reason only: to torment and ultimately destroy John Bell. Kate, as the entity became known, was a character unlike any other in paranormal lore. She was intelligent, cunning, and malevolent. She could hold conversations with visitors, quoting scripture word forward from two different sermons preached miles apart at the exact same time. She knew people's deepest, darkest secrets, often revealing them publicly to embarrass and humiliate visitors who doubted her existence. The entity's voice would echo through the house, sometimes coming from the chimney, sometimes from just behind a person's shoulder. It would curse, mock, and laugh with a terrifying, high-pitched cackle. The physical torment escalated dramatically, while Kate seemed to have a strange, almost protective affection for John Bell's wife, Lucy. She reserved her most vicious attacks for John and his daughter, Betsy. Betsy was slapped, pinched, and pricked with invisible pins until she screamed in agony. John Bell suffered the worst. He began experiencing strange ailments, including a twitching in his face and difficulty swallowing, which Kate would gloat about causing. She would relentlessly pursue him, her voice screaming insults and threats, promising him that his end was near. Word of the Bell, which spread like wildfire across the state, and then across the country. The story became so famous that it allegedly reached a man who would one day become the 7th President of the United States, General Andrew Jackson. A veteran of brutal battles, Jackson was known for his iron will and fearlessness. Intrigued and skeptical, he gathered a group of his men and traveled to the Bell farm, determined to expose the haunting as a hoax. According to the legend, as Jackson's wagon approached the property line, it came to a sudden, inexplicable halt. The horses strained, but the wheels were frozen in place as if held by an invisible, immovable force. Jackson, frustrated, is said to have exclaimed, "By the eternal, boys, it must be the witch." Just then, a sharp, metallic voice rang out from the empty air, telling him they could proceed and that she would see him again that night. The wagon suddenly lurched forward. That night, Jackson and his men settled in at the Bell's home. One of his men, a self-proclaimed witch tamer, boasted that he had a silver bullet in his pistol that could kill any spirit. He taunted the entity, calling it out. In response, the man suddenly screamed, crying out that he was being stuck with pins and beaten by an invisible force. He was then, according to the story, violently thrown from the house by the entity. Terrified by what they had witnessed, Jackson and his remaining men didn't last the night. They reportedly fled the farm before sunrise, with Andrew Jackson later quoted as saying, "I would rather face the entire British army than spend another night with the Bell Witch." For 3 long years, the Bell family endured this relentless supernatural assault. John Bell's health deteriorated rapidly under the constant physical and psychological torment. By 1820, he was mostly bedridden. One morning in December, he failed to wake up. His family found him unresponsive in his bed. Beside him, on the nightstand, was a small, unfamiliar vial containing a dark, mysterious liquid. The family was bewildered, but Kate was not silent. Her voice boomed through the house in triumph, exclaiming, "I gave old Jack a big dose of that last night, and that fixed him." To confirm their suspicions, they tested the liquid on the family cat, which died almost instantly. The vial's contents were then thrown into the fireplace, where the flames erupted in a brilliant, unnatural blue-green column that shot up the chimney. John Bell's death was officially recorded as being from an unknown ailment, but the family and the entire community knew the truth. They believed the Bell Witch had finally fulfilled her promise. At his funeral, as mourners grieved, they were interrupted by the sound of loud, joyous, and triumphant singing. It was Kate celebrating her victory. After John Bell's death, the entity's activity began to wane. Kate's voice was heard less and less frequently. She made a promise to the family that she would return in 7 years, and true to her word, the phenomena briefly reappeared in 1828. Then she promised to return again in 107 years, which would have been in 1935. While there were some reports of strange occurrences around that time, nothing matched the intensity of the original haunting. Eventually, the voice faded away, leaving behind only silence and a legend that would refuse to die. The original Bell farmhouse is long gone, but the story lives on. For over 200 years, people have traveled to Adams, Tennessee, hoping to experience a piece of this terrifying history. Visitors to the area, particularly near the Bell Witch Cave where Betsy often sought refuge, report hearing strange whispers in the woods, seeing shadowy figures, and feeling an unnerving presence. Electronic devices malfunction, and disembodied voices are sometimes captured on recordings. The legend has inspired countless books, documentaries, and even major Hollywood films. So what really happened on that Tennessee farm? Was it a case of mass hysteria? A meticulously crafted hoax that fooled an entire community? And perhaps even a future president? Was it a poltergeist phenomenon centered on the adolescent Betsy Bell? Or was it something far more real? A malevolent entity with the power to speak, to harm, and even to kill. The Bell Witch haunting remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American folklore. A chilling tale where the line between fact and legend is impossibly blurred. What do you think is the truth behind this terrifying story? Let me know your theories down in the comments. If this journey into one of America's most famous hauntings gave you chills, please hit that like button and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most terrifying true stories. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay safe.